Batman Catwoman issue 7, Tom King and Liam Sharp. Yes, that's right, Liam Sharp.
Yeah. Yeah.
Not the usual. So that, I mean, obviously the art is still pretty good. That's pretty simple thing to say. I will say the one downside to this art change, other than just that it's a different artist and you'd like it to be consistent, is that I thought the difference in the time period was harder to tell at first.
100%
Yeah.
harder.
This was my problem. Yeah.
Because I got a little bit lost with the Bruce and Selina stuff.
Because obviously we've had these 3 time periods that have been constantly, and it plays into the whole Ghost of Christmas Present, Future Past thing that this is obviously dealing with because it's Christmas themed and all the rest of it. And I got it fairly quickly. It became clear the Bank Vault story was the present day with Phantasm, which meant that the sex scene stuff was obviously from the past, and obviously the older character stuff was the easiest one to tell, just because the characters look so different. But
even then, Sharp's older Selina doesn't look nearly as old as Man's Selina. So there's a little bit off there, but it's Liam Sharp. I mean, the stuff in the Bank Vault, when it really gets going, it really benefits from his sketchier
so
art
good,
style.
Yeah. Can I just say, so the opening of this, right, is sexy in the past, and you've got the Christmas Carol playing in bubbles as they're having sex. I actually got a crack out of just reading the "O Come All Ye Faithful" over and over as they're having sex, because it's hard not to see particularly the "O Come" over and over again in a sex scene and not start to just giggle at the double entendre of it all. But then it cuts to the end of another sex scene, which is Batman in a bank vault, who... Well, I say end of a sex scene, I'm saying that because he's naked. Maybe I should just drug them and put him there. But I like to think they had sex in a bank vault.
And that's where because of the art style, right?
Yes.
That's where it jumps from the one to this. And I was like, what the hell happened? Like, and then it was, you start putting all the pieces together, that it would have been nice to differentiate.
I was fine after the few transitions, but I do think the coloring in the what do we call them? The thingy art.
Present?
No, there's the regular artist on this book.
Clayman.
Clayman, thank you. The Clayman art, I think the coloring difference between each time period is a lot more distinct, even for these two. But so Bruce wakes up and there's a letter saying, "Love you, Bruce, but I'm off with Phantasm to go kill Joker." The police are on the way. You're in the vault, and he's handcuffed behind his back as well. And then we cut back to the future. No pun intended. And it's Commissioner Dick going to Wayne Manor, and there's a kind of a joke here where it's like all the cops like sort of call in and say, "Oh, we got 6 snipers, and we got this group of guys here. We got SWAT over here," and then Dick goes, "It's not enough."
It's good, but it's not enough.
Yeah, and Selina opens the door, and he's like, "I need to arrest you. You killed Joker. This is what's happening." And at least had an interesting little conversation actually, where she asks, like, did Bruce ever tell you why you were dressed in yellow and red when you first started? And he says it was, Bruce said that it was, because it meant that you wouldn't be able to rely on stealth. You would
shadow.
It would almost target your weaknesses, and you would have to overcome them. It was like a training thing, right? And Selina says something that's really dark, where Bruce said to her that the idea was that it was so silly that the Joker might think it was funny and then not want to kill you because you were too pathetic. And that's really dark, especially since he did eventually kill a Robin, which just adds an extra layer of sinister to it.
I'm glad I had a sigh of relief when it ended not being the Frank Miller reason that Robin's the target and Batman's not, and that's why he's in the bright colors. So the fact that here it's darkly sweet, that that you might make the Joker laugh being just like that, so he'll want to keep you around.
Yeah,
and then then you do the math that he eventually killed one.
Like you say, it's darkly sweet. That's a good way of putting it, because it's actually kind of a well-intentioned thing, but it's actually also really dark at the same time.
Yeah.
So then we cut back to the past sex scene, and Bruce is like, Joker's been here. I can smell him. Basically. And he's like, you gotta tell me where he is, and she's basically like, no, I'm not. Then we get to maybe, like, I kind of love this, but it's also probably the worst art of the book, which is the physique on Bruce. We're back in the bank vault, and he's basically just like, dislocating. He
looks like Bane.
He does. His shoulders are that broad, but he gets himself out of the handcuffs, and I actually laughed out loud though when I saw what he was doing, because the police are coming to the vault door. He's about to encounter them, and how does he disguise his appearance? He does a wrestling thing. He blades.
He blades. That's a no in the E. All right.
Yeah.
He's getting fired.
He blades so that he can cover his face in blood, so no one will recognize him as Bruce Wayne. That's how he disguises himself when he's butt-ass naked. I kind of love this.
It does take the focus off of his naughty bits, right?
But that next page though, I was gonna say that next page when he's spreading the blood around his face is super like dark and like sinister.
So like when these cops bust into the bank vault, they're definitely not expecting a naked bloody guy there.
No, they definitely are not.
So
element of surprise on his side. Do you know what it is? Do you know what this is? This is the dark, broody version of the elevator Captain America scene. Because even because later on when we get to the scene where they're like sort of in the middle of the fight and he's beating the shit out of them, they're like, oh, we can barely use our weapons in here because it's too cramped. I'm like,
right.
Okay, you know what? King's putting enough stuff in here. It's not just that he can take on an army of guys that have all got guns. It's they're in a cramped space. Obviously, shoot. When it comes to hand combat, he's clearly going to be better than all these cops. Right. Like,
and he's using their numbers against them because he, and again, being naked, it covered in blood. He's probably more slippery, too.
Probably true. Then we cut back to the future, and it's Helena talking to her father's costume, saying, "Father, I was a good girl." Basically saying, "How could you marry Mum? Like, she's not like us." She obviously clearly relates more to him. She has this sense of right and wrong, this nobility, and is like, "I'm sorry, I loved her. I know you did too." But she said it in the past tense, like she doesn't love her anymore because she committed a murder. It's really sad.
It shows that like the Wayne line of seeing things in black and white, she inherited that from her dad. Because that's never been Selena, right? Selena is shades of gray, which is when you think about the Phantasm, right, and being in the gray, but she's black and white as well. That Selena is in this no man's land of. She's kind of a unique character in Batman's life.
Yeah. So. I'm actually fascinated that we're only just past the halfway mark in this book because it feels like we might be ramping up to the end and we're obviously not. So I'm curious to see where this goes. Selena refuses to tell him where the Joker is in the past. And he's like, we can't do this anymore. And she's like, well, in that case, leave and never come back. And then they kiss, which just kind of summarizes their whole relationship.
Well, he chases her on rooftops. Like that's
yes, and then we get the glorious page of him fighting an army of SWAT members covered in blood but naked.
There's a thing of nightmares.
The coloring is great, and it even pulls a bit of a Hannibal Lecter thing where he dresses up in one of their uniforms and goes out, and they all just think he's one of the cops, and he gets into like the ambulance. And then he like turns on the guy when the guy kind of just realizes for a second that, wait a minute, you're not one of the cops. And then we get the nostalgia pop, the callback to the Brubaker run with Selena getting the mugshot.
The famous cover.
Yeah, nice touch. And of course, when Batman was called away in the past, we see where he was called to. Jim Gordon's there at this house, and basically Joker had shoved a bunch of dead Santas in the chimney.
And they can't tell how many.
This is a very Joker murder. I'm just going to put that out there.
They can't tell because they're so tangled. And it's just like, oh my God.
And Gordon's talking about how awful how awful he is, and it does this split page where half of it's like, you know, past, and then the other half's the present, bloody Batman, and he's talking to Selina, who's wounded. Selina's got I have to say the art in this page isn't that great. I kind of hate.
No, this is the weak, like the low point, but it's at the end. So
yeah, this is Catwoman's body proportions where she has these silly long legs. Really, really weird.
It's like he wanted to make the 12 panel work but couldn't, so he had to play with proportions.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What's so sad is that she's leaning against the T-Rex leg, and the T-Rex leg's really well proportioned.
Right. Well, that's what he really spent the focus on.
Maybe that's what he was worried about. But basically, Phantasm, like Joker, apparently in the heat of the moment when they tried to kill him, whispered something to Phantasm, and then Andrea turned on Selina and stabbed her with the scythe. The scythe, sorry. And so honestly, this is probably one of the better cliffhangers the book's had, because I can't wait to find out what the Joker said to her that made her turn, given how she felt before. So I'm kind of interested. Again,
she sees things in black and white. And, you know, so what was it that she went from I'm killing the Joker for being responsible for the death of my son to I'm killing Selina?
Unless it was somehow the son's alive, I can take you to him. But maybe that's a bit too obvious. The final page is Selina, old age Selina, in jail, pulling a lockpick or a pin out of her foot, like out of her skin, so she can get out of the jail cell. Yep. So, old lady Selina still got the tricks. She still knows what she's doing. Of
course she does. You know.
No denying that.
I also like too that that when Helena's talking about it, it's like it's an open and shut case. Like she's going away for the rest of her life. Like there's no way she can get out. But Selina still has a trick or two up her heel.
So I mean, the art is such a weird thing, because I think, you know, the pages of Bruce like fighting covered in blood, like all that stuff is like plays to its sharp strength. When
it hits hard.
Yeah, right? It's so good. But then that page of Selina's proportions towards the end is terrible. I kind of get a kick out of the Bruce one though, where he looks like Bane, just because it's kind of silly and stupid, but it's in kind of a fun way, where it's just like, look at how built he is. He's like a tank.
Yeah. He's trying to compare his physique to a wrestler, right? He's very Batista-esque in his build, or Brock, but with a normal person's head. And it just doesn't make sense, even on a page, you know, like out of proportion. It's almost Liefeld Captain America, but good. So, yeah, those 2 pages though, but it's still Liam Sharp. Man, really, really good. Like I'm not complaining about the rest of the art.
No,
I just wish we could have seen what Liam Sharp's Phantasm looked like. That's the one thing that
we don't get to see that, do we? I mean, yeah, it would have been nice for Clayman not to have to miss an issue, but
yeah,
you know, make lemons and all that jazz. And
and wasn't this supposed to be John Paul Leon, or was that a different issue?
No, that's like a special, like a one shot. Yeah, that wasn't
gotcha.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I will say though, in terms of story developments and in terms of set pieces, this is maybe one of the best issues of this book. Like in terms of story, like I was so into old Selina being arrested. I was so into the naked bank vault fight.
Yeah.
The all the dead Santas in the chimney. Like I really like these beats, these story beats. So, and even Helena talking to her dad, as it were. So, yeah, all that stuff I thought was good stuff, and it's building to something. You know, obviously we're dealing with how the Joker's affected all these people, which is cool, through various ways, and even how Bruce and Selina have affected their daughter through different ways, and I suppose in many ways it makes sense that Bruce's traits would be the dominant ones that would imprint upon the kid.
Well, I mean, she wears the bat, right? She wears the big ears and everything.
But I'm thinking from it makes sense that his sense of right and wrong was the one that was stronger. That was the one that the kid latched onto at a young age, presumably.
Yeah, because you feel like Selina can hide who she really is, you know, whereas Bruce can't.
Yeah,
and so Selina was able to form into who she needed to be for Helena, and maybe that's why she's having such an issue. right? Is that she didn't want to come to terms with this is who mom really is.
Which is interesting because you've got this idea that Bruce knew this to begin with and accepted it to a point, and then still chose to marry her, still chose to have a kid with her, all these things. Whereas for Helena, she grew up with Selena being the Selena that she became for the marriage and for the the motherhood, and it's only just towards this later part of her life maybe where she's fully getting a taste of what Selena's really capable of.
Yeah, coming to terms with it, and because Dick knows, like when all the SWAT people is like, it's still not enough, and she goes peacefully, So like, yeah, I want an interaction between Dick and Helena to see what that's like, because that is, you would think that is her brother, However,
did we not have one where he had the signal?
Yeah, but like I want like a heart to heart, not just a Batwoman showing up. I want Helena and Dick to be like, and him to explain to her almost in a big brother fashion, like, no, this is always who your mother was. You just didn't want to, you didn't get to experience it because she became who she was to you. And I kind of want that coming from a big brother figure, so because she seems lost when she's talking to her dad's costume. She seems like lost, adrift in hopelessness almost, that she doesn't want to believe. She's in denial. So I want to see it pull through. And this is the type of stuff I think Tom King's really good at communicating through the comic form, is these kind of emotions.
I mean, you can't deny that the guy writes layered comic book stories, because like, how much do we sit and talk about everything that he does with his narrative and with his characters?
Yeah. It's just certain stuff hits in other ways, and when he does these 12-issue books like this, I almost feel he's better at that because he has a end point to where he's working to, versus something with Comic Chains where he has to chain it together. And overall, because overall his Batman run, there's some really, really highs and some really, really low lows. And here I feel these 12-issue stuff with Mr. Miracle, Rorschach, Supergirl, it feels like they're consistent across the board more.
All right, what are you giving Batman Catwoman issue 7?
I'm gonna give this an 8.
Yeah, I'm gonna agree with that. 8 out of 10. I think it's an easy choice for me.